It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to thank you all for coming out this evening. My name is Debbie Chess, Director of External Relations and Development for the Dayton Metro Library. And again, thank you for coming out this evening to talk about the safety of the Dayton Metro Library patrons and staff at the Southeast Branch. By now, most of you have seen the footage of a fight that broke out at the branch on Waterville in the afternoon of September 27th. This led to the decision to close the branch between the hours of 2:30 and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday until further notice. This evening, you will have the opportunity to hear from the library, Dayton Public Schools, and the Dayton Police Department regarding questions, comments, and reactions from members of the community submitted online. There will also be an opportunity to hear from you folks in the audience, followed by next steps that will carry this conversation forward. We will first address the comments that came through our online portal. The response was so overwhelming that we can't address them all individually. However, certain common themes evolved, those being safety, streamlining efforts into partnerships, and involving youth in solutions. We have Ms. Sharice Hairston here from the Dayton Mediation Center to make sure that there is clarity and understanding in what is being asked or what is being commented on. The appropriate representative will have 2 to 3 minutes each question. Once all of the online submissions have been addressed, we will move on to the audience with the same process. Speakers from the audience must come to the microphone, and the microphone is right here. Must come to the microphone. You have 1 minute to make a statement or pose your question. Questions or comments must not be a replication of issues already discussed or addressed during the comments with the folks on the panel. In order to make sure we hear from as many voices as possible, we ask that we all respect whomever is speaking by keeping the talking down and not interrupting. We have only an hour for this process. We will not emerge from this evening with concrete solutions, but a commitment to keeping the library open, safe, and accessible to all. That is the ultimate goal. Now with that, I welcome Rachel Goot, Deputy Director of the Dayton Metro Library, Dr. David Lawrence, Superintendent of Dayton Public Schools, and Major Jason Hall from the Dayton Police Department, and Marvin Jones from the Dayton Public Schools. I will start with the first question, which was, why was this date and location selected for this conversation?
So maybe I'll start with that one. We looked at something that was relatively quick. We wanted to get the group together as quickly as possible, and this is the largest space that we have in the library system. So we thought that a lot of people would want to come, which it appears they did. So that was the reason why this date and location were chosen.
Some solutions seem obvious, but have not been implemented. Why are these commonly suggested solutions not feasible, such as blocking all teens, requiring teens to be accompanied by an adult or show ID, only letting teens or students participating in programs in the building, calling parents, guardians after an incident, hiring a police officer to be present after school, providing yellow bus transportation, letting students stay in the school after, stay in the school building after school.
First of all, good evening. This meeting is long overdue. It's exciting to see the general public out here. We've met behind closed doors with the Dayton Police Department, city officials, Ms. Dickstein, the mayor, business owners, downtown business owners, members from the Chamber of Commerce, other large business community folks such as CareSource, Premier. We've had a lot of meetings behind closed doors, but we've not done this. So it's exciting to see people out to have a conversation and give us some feedback. Let me start by saying all of those things that were mentioned, we've done some version of all of those. I'll just cut straight to the chase. It's been everything that was mentioned, with the exception of, I wouldn't even say yellow bus transportation we've done about 25 years ago. We used to have something called the activity bus, and the activity bus would come and pick kids up after school at 6, 7, 8 o'clock and take them home. So we've done some version of all that, and we're currently working with leaders in subcommittees for the first time to develop some technology-based solutions, to develop some security-based solutions, and try to integrate all those pieces and put them together so that we can help support young people in this space and make sure that everyone here is safe. I don't want to filibuster. I'm going to apologize and say that on behalf of Dayton Public Schools, our administrators and all our staff, what you saw yesterday on television, what we have seen before, is unacceptable, and it should not happen. No adult or children or anybody should feel that they're going to be unsafe in public spaces. So as a superintendent, I want to apologize on behalf of the school system itself.
Thank you for that. I just want to say it's very nice to be here with our partners. These have been our premier partners during this challenge. We have looked at a number of different options. Closing certainly wasn't our first option. As Debbie very eloquently put it, our duty is to keep things open, safe, and available to everyone. And I kind of want to hit on that everyone piece. So we don't discriminate and decide because people are within a certain age category, they have to have different library privileges than others. So that's part of the reason why we haven't said if you're a teen, you have to be accompanied by someone else. You have to show ID. Only so many of them could be in the building at the same time. We're a public library, and what we're really committed to is access for all. And I will say that, some of these events have been really shocking and awful, but 99% of the teens who come in are wonderful, good kids. Most of them do sit down and play games or just talk to their friends or do homework or utilize other library resources. We have a lot of programs for them after school, and a lot of them use those things. So, I think that unfortunately this is a situation where we've got a few folks who are causing a problem for a lot of others.
That is a really wonderful segue to the next question, which is, please describe the programming opportunities available for youth in the after-school hours, that is at the library, at school, in the surrounding area that has easy access, and can the library provide after-school snacks?
So, yeah, we have a lot of stuff. I know I'm not going to even touch on all of the things that we do. We have a homework help program that's every afternoon at many of our locations, but Southeast is definitely one of them. They've been partnering recently with the Children's Hunger Alliance, and so when we reopen, we will have the Children's Hunger Alliance snacks after school for the kids, and we have that at some of our locations. Not all of our locations have that option, but Southeast will be one that does for sure. We partner with Visible and Resilient, and they've done some programming for us, especially after school. The Dayton Municipal Court has come in and done Know Your Rights programs. Our librarians at Southeast last year, this is one of the ones I was most excited about, they did a job fair for students. So those kids who likely are looking for their very first job and are not really sure how to go about that, they did a whole week-long series of programs on writing a resume and how to do an interview and all those kinds of, you know, skills that you need to get a job. And then the final day, the Friday of that, was actually a job fair. So many of them got to have real interviews, and several of the kids got hired from that experience. So those are the types of things that we're doing: kite clubs, STEM and STEAM programs to try to engage them in different ways. They've had a drama club. There's just really been a lot of different options that we've offered to the kids.
And Dr. Jones, you can chime in if you'd like. I would say for us, Dayton Public Schools is about a $430 or $40 million enterprise, so we support lots of things and lots of spaces. So we have a comprehensive after-school sports program. Lots of kids are there for a multitude or variety of fall, winter, and spring sports that number over 45. We have after-school clubs. We have other after-school activities. We try our best. I would like to mention at this point, I'm a former high school principal, proud principal at Thurgood Marshall High School, and our motto was 7 to 7, meaning we wanted kids there from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night. We didn't want to make any excuses around whether they had parents or not, or whether or there was someone to support them. We wanted to be the end-all, be-all to them. And I see some of my fellow board members in the audience, or board members in the audience, and I know for a fact that they have that same philosophy that I have, that we want to be a comprehensive space where we keep kids all day by any means necessary. Band, orchestra, strings, we have ceramics, we have lots of after-school activities and clubs, and we continue to try to expand those. And so that's important to us. It's not that we don't want kids downtown, we want them in school, we want to be
programs don't meet the needs of the kids that are involved, it's all for naught. And so I'd really like to put out there right now, I'd like to see students at events like this.
Yeah.
I want to hear our students' voices. What do you want to do after school?
Yeah, that's good.
Do you want a job? We need to do some workforce development training for you, some paid internships. And so that's kind of where my mind is. I know that Dr. Lawrence is on the same page as well. So.
That's good. Well said.
Again, a very nice segue to the next question, which is, please share what partnerships have been explored or created so far, and what has been done to seek youth feedback or input on, quote, what to do with the teens.
So I'll just thank my partners here, because these are the very best partners that we've had. Dayton Public Schools has been wonderful. They've been sharing their safety, or their school resource officers with us in the afternoon to help us manage the crowds. The Dayton Police have just been a wonderful resource as well, and often wander through and come to our parking lots and whatnot to help us with different things. We also do pizza with the police with them. Again, part of that partnership is to help people feel more comfortable with police, and that's been a really wonderful effort that we've had. So other partners, I mentioned a few of them that we've had, but I didn't mention Wright State has been one of our partners, and last year we did a series of focus groups and surveys with our students. I think their idea was to try to connect those students with Wright State and potentially, have them start thinking about college and where they want to go and what sorts of things they want to do. But the other outcome of that piece was that we did surveys to find out, what do the students who are already coming into our buildings, what kinds of things would they like to do in the afternoon? What sorts of things are they interested in? So those are some of the ways that we've worked on that. Many of our branches have student advisory boards. So these are students who are very excited about the library, who regularly come to the library, and the library forms sort of a group of them, and then they have an opportunity to plan programming and to connect with their peers then and bring additional students in. So those are a couple of the different ways that we've worked to get student input.
I'll add that Omega CDC at Fairview, E.J. Brown, and Thurgood Marshall work with us closely for after-school programming. And there are lots of other after-school entities through Learn to Earn that would like to work with us. But we have some transportation challenges in terms of our span and scope. We just had a board meeting today, an additional board meeting. We just hired an additional 4 or 5 drivers. For us, it's about how can we get as many transportation logistics specialists as possible to drive buses, and then we can expand those opportunities. That's kind of what limits us in terms of our partnerships after school and in terms of transporting kids to and from those spaces. We used to transport students to daycare. We used to transport all students. We're just not in a space to do that at this present time. But I do want to say that even if we can't transport them, it's still incumbent upon us to figure out ways to ensure that they're safe and that citizens are as well. I think that's the number one thing. When people leave Dayton Public Schools, actually as students, they don't say they're leaving because of the report card. Typically they say they want to be in a safe environment. So we acknowledge that internally and externally. And I just want to say, I see Chief Wright, Richard Wright and his team here. As was stated before, they've done a really good job of providing additional supports. It costs us about $37,000 a month. That's an estimate in additional overtime to provide supports in different spaces, not just the libraries. So that's close to $500,000 a year. So we're aware of these issues, and we're again actively working to construct some type of plan so that we can all be safe.
If I may, just add a little more context to what Dr. Lawrence just shared about transportation after school. Many of our schools, traditional public schools, charters, parochials release around 3 or 4 o'clock. And often that clashes with our athletic trips as well. And so it's not as simple and easy as being able to provide transportation to these different places. But around 3 or 4 o'clock is when it gets extremely busy.
And I'm going to say this, if we didn't have to transport charter school students, we could transport every Dayton Public School kid anywhere they wanted. I'm just going to say it.
So he's saying that because we need some legislative support. And state law requires us to do so. So we need to start, writing our local politicians, our state politicians, and letting our voices be heard.
I believe this is for you, Rachel. Please share what best practices have been explored or what consultation has been done with other urban libraries.
Sure, yeah, we've actually done quite a bit. So both the executive director and I belong to groups of libraries here in Ohio. So the larger libraries meet usually every other week or once a month to just talk, either as the executive director group or the deputy executive director group. And both of us have shared our situation with those groups, and it's really fascinating, and nationally with the Urban Library Council. And it's really fascinating. Usually what we hear is, wow, you got that many teens to come in? How do we do that? How do we get that many teens to come in? So I think we're in a unique position, and I think a lot of the libraries around the country are actually looking to us to see how we can help manage some of these things. But those that do have larger populations coming in, they're doing a lot of the same things we are, providing programming in the afternoon, creating partnerships, working with their local schools and police departments, and other organizations in their various communities to provide as much support as we can for these young people.
I'd just like to say, I heard earlier this comment around restricting bus passes, and there used to be a restriction on passes. They used to be called limited service, and students could get on the LS buses, limited service buses right outside schools, and they were transported to their neighborhoods, so they never came to downtown.
Exactly.
That existed. We have found now that students, about 70% of them, when we go around and interview them, because I have student focus groups at all the schools, most of the students, they actually appreciate the passes, not just to transport themselves to school, but about 70% of our youth, they work. they have jobs, and they have jobs where it's imperative that they work. They have to work to survive, to provide for themselves in many cases. And so those are the conditions in which our students find themselves. And so we're glad that in some ways they have passes that they can transport themselves to work and school.
What limitations are there on staffing? And what is being done to support staff at Southeast or Maine with these incidents?
So like all of our resources, staffing is limited. We've only got so many folks. But one of the things that we've done at both Southeast and the main library is we make sure that the after school time is a time when everybody is working out on the floor. So we're supporting each other. We don't have anybody doing projects in the back during that time. We also have many of our folks who are not necessarily regular public services staff like myself. I'll point out Dave Hicks, who's one of our public services directors, Deonce, who's our human resources director, often come out during those times as well to support the staff that are out on the floor. Just again, to be another set of eyes, another set of hands. Oftentimes that's mostly what's needed. Same thing at Southeast. I know Dave spends many afternoons at Southeast to just be another set of hands. Caitlin Whistler, another one of our public services directors, same thing. So administration, other staff, Laura Chamberlain's our teen coordinator. She's out many afternoons with teens as well. We try to provide that extra set of hands, extra eyes, extra bodies there. In terms of when things happen, we do have an EAP program, and again, our Human Resources Department is really active in checking in on folks, making sure that they've got the resources that they need. We've brought in some other counseling opportunities for staff so that again, they're getting that opportunity to process what happens, talk about what else we can do. And I would be completely remiss if I didn't mention our Safety and Protective Services Department under Heather McClure, who really does a great job, again, trying to be proactive, right, and train people ahead of time as to how to keep themselves safe and keep others safe. And they are right out there with us too, every single day. And frankly, they probably, as our staff members, they probably take more than anybody else does of the action, if you will.
This is the last question for our panelists here. So if you have a question from the audience, you might want to start moving to the mic here. You have a minute to make your question or statement. But the question is, what are next steps? When will the Southeast branch reopen with full hours?
Well, I think that one's me again. Right now we're looking at a little bit of a slow rollback. So November the 4th, we're looking to restore some of the hours. So we'll be we'll be closed still from 2:30 to 4. So we'll be open from that 4 to 5 hour. And then by the end of the year, December 23rd, we're planning to roll back entirely. So we'll have the branch completely open its regular hours as it was before. And then going forward, that's our hope, is that we can keep it open.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do we have any questions or comments from the audience?
I want to note something.
Microphone.
In 1961, when my mom and dad moved down here, I'm old enough to remember my brother and I shopping for Christmas presents at Bright's.
Speak into the mic.
Hopefully I can be heard either way. But, back then, my mom and dad knew that we were responsible to be able to shop by ourselves and be left by ourselves and be responsible by ourselves. Things have changed, obviously, in the 60-odd years since then. but sometimes, maybe going forwards, you need to go backwards. Is anybody else in this room that's been here that long notice that the more that is done, the worse it gets? I sure have. Now maybe it's time to go full circle and go back to the beginning. We could be trusted as children. That's part of it. The other part was the parents had already by that time instilled the discipline for us to be trusted as little kids. That needs to be reinstated, not just more programs. How about common sense? I see a lot of people here. There's a lot of ideas. Keep this room open for the rest of the night if necessary. I'm sure there's lots of other people that would like to say things too. Maybe they're good ideas, maybe they're bad ideas, but they're ideas. Just going and doing the same thing that's been done for decades here, what has it left us?
Sir, your minute is up.
All right.
Thank you.
So for you, sir, you wanted to share that if we go back to some common sense and where children are trusted and parents discipline the children, that
It's yin and yang. They complete each other.
they complete each other, and if we go back to that, because adding more programming doesn't necessarily help solve the problem, and so a reminder to go back to trusting kids and having them disciplined.
Yeah, that's what it used to be called. Going back
Is
to
there
basics.
a comment from the panel? Does anyone have
I
any
don't.
response?
Yeah, I don't begrudge anything that you shared, sir. I harbor some of the same beliefs. At the same time, our students often leave school and go to homes where the discipline, high moral values are not demonstrated or taught. And so our effort is to create programs, to create these familial type environments where they can learn how to engage and how to deal with conflict.
That's what we do. Great.
So I just wanted to, my kids go to the Southeast branch. I live in Trotwood, I'm a single parent, and they go to the Dayton Regional STEM School. So they take the RTA to the Southeast branch so I can get 45 minutes of extra work in one day a week. Picking them up to go to different activities. So the library has been very crucial in providing an extra tool in my toolbox to just live life. And so it has been something that's been challenging to have that shut. One of the things that when I read the comments about the closures, I was really challenging is how quick people were to blame the library location or the schools or the RTA. And I think that is making the dialogue too small, and that we need to make the dialogue bigger, because the Vandalia Library is within walking distance of the high school. And that library doesn't get shut, and it doesn't have the same degree of problem. So we also need to be including the county in all these conversations about where we place things and how we do things around the entire county. And it shouldn't just be blamed on RTA busing or on Dayton Public Schools and the children that go to Dayton Public. We need to look broader across the board, and I hope that that conversation is broadened. And it's not just discipline not being in households. My kids are disciplined.
Ma'am, your minute is. Thank you so much.
So for you, ma'am, you want the conversation broadened to the county, so that it's not just one single issue, and the Southeast Library has been really central to your toolbox as a parent, and the issues, Vandalia, for example, has a library and they're not having the same issues. So if the conversation were broadened to include more people, there may be some solutions that can come from that. Does that capture?
Any comments?
Yeah, and I'll just quickly comment on that. I'm thrilled that your kids are coming to the library. It was intentional when we built many of our libraries. We tried to build many of them close to schools so they would be well utilized by our students. Brookville's another example of a school that's, I mean, that one is as close to the Brookville schools as southeast is to Belmont High School. And that was, I mean, that really was intentional because we wanted to provide some additional after-school support, a place for kids to come and study, to do all the things that we're trying to provide for them. So I'm delighted that your kids are coming.
And I want to thank you for your nuanced stance about how this is complex. To the back in the day conversation. I'm almost 60, so I remember back in the day when there were 66,000 kids in Dayton Public Schools.
Yeah, I know that's
I remember when no charter schools existed until the late 90s.
Yep.
And I remember when there were jobs that were plentiful for everyone, everywhere, at any time if you wanted to get one in Dayton Public School, in Dayton. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, foundries, factories, a standard register, you name it.
Right.
The city, parks and recreation, the list goes on and on and on. This is a place they used to call City Beautiful. It was a place that was gorgeous, economic opportunities everywhere. And with the demise of most major cities, you see some of the behaviors that you see in some of these spaces. And also, I would like to say that I remember being a kid too, and I don't remember everybody doing everything they were supposed to do. I don't.
Right.
I don't think I can even say I did everything I was doing.
I'm certain I didn't. Also, I'd like to thank you for acknowledging how complex this problem is. My experience so far, and I think we've hit a lot on the collaboration of all the different partners coming to the table. And I have seen that on and on. My little part of it that I kind of wanted to interject, so far hasn't been a whole lot of questions come my way, but some of the complexity is and what we're facing with the city of Dayton and the Dayton Police Department. And when we talk about the kids and some of the situations, I'd like to point out that we have a large group home problem in our city. And I know the department, the city commission, everybody's been working diligently to try to take care of that. Because what we are experiencing is a lot of these kids who now aren't in their home. You know, these are kids who have been extremely marginalized, are some of the, having some of the issues that we're experiencing. But it is a whole host of things. So I think we're all trying to prioritize and identify the solutions and take care of each piece in a holistic way.
Hello, I'm just a resident here in Dayton. I'm a regular patron of the library. I don't have any children, so maybe I don't have as much stake in this, but my question is, if the library intends on bringing a increased police presence at some of their locations, are there any concerns about how that may intimidate any students that come here after school and make it feel like it's a less safe environment for them, especially considering how much has been said about these issues that there have been at the library with teenagers. And furthermore, what can the police do to gain the teens' trust regardless?
So I'll start on that. Obviously, the Dayton Police Department, we would love to have as much visibility and presence as we can everywhere. Unfortunately, there are certain realities with staffing, just kind of like all of our partners at the table. It's kind of a global issue for all of us trying to find enough people. As far as building those relationships with young people, we work on that quite a bit. I mean, we have a lot of different projects that we work on throughout the year. Different programs. I've lost track of them. Officer Tony Murphy in the back is one of our community engagement officers. They spend an inordinate amount of time working with kids and trying to build that dialogue, because the dialogue builds the trust. The understanding builds the trust. So that is the primary vehicle that we use to try to put people at ease.
And I'll just add to that. Thank you for being here, and thank you for asking your question, because this, the whole point of this is we are trying to come together as a community. This is not just for parents. It's not just necessarily for library users. We hope everyone's a library user, but we're just glad to have everybody here. I think from our perspective, we want to be welcoming. That is what the library wants to be, and a piece of that is being open and safe for everyone. And so that's part of the reason why we partner with the Dayton Police Department. And again, I think I mentioned pizza with the police, and I think we've done some donut programs with you all as well. And again, the idea is to get both young people and police together so that they can have a very positive experience, and that hopefully we're not having some of that fear or negative perspective that sometimes happens.
Hi there, my name is Joe Winters. I'm a Belmont resident and patron at Southeast. I want to thank you all for coming here today. I hope that this is a conversation that we can keep going as a continuing work group with the community, with the students at Belmont. I'm hearing a lot of really good ideas. I'm worried that I'm not hearing as much in the way of specifics on how we're going to ease the crisis at Southeast when we reopen and make this a safe, welcoming environment for the community and for the staff. I'm going to talk a little bit about specifics. Rachel, you said that other libraries are jealous of the number of teams. Did you tell them that the secret is to build a library between the high school and the bus stop? I think that the fundamental problem here is that ever since Southeast opened, you guys have been trying to run a library inside a busy bus terminal. I'd like to go ahead and thank you for closing the library down after school so we can have space to have this conversation. I think it was overdue. Let's see, I want to suggest that you seriously investigate permanent changes to architecture, landscaping, and procedure at Southeast to make it less attractive as a cut-through.
Sir, I'm sorry, your minute is up.
Thank you.
So your key points, sir, were wanting some more specific solutions and hearing some of those specific solutions. And the last solution that you had was the changes to the architecture and reducing the cut through the park. And you're also appreciative of closing the library, the Southeast Library, in order to have this conversation. And you're hoping that more of these working group conversations happen.
And I'll just say thank you very much for your comments. I think the goal of this is not to be a one and done, but to find ways to continue the conversation and to continue figuring out how do we do this. And I invite you, if you have additional pieces that you weren't able to say tonight, please email us and let us know what you're thinking, because again, we have an open suggestion box and email, and we would love to hear from everyone.
We'll certainly continue to explore solutions. Some of the things that the district is doing right now, we provide SROs to the Southeast Library, 2 at the time. Our principal, Kimani Smith, is here at Belmont. He's often at the library ushering students from school down to the library, to the bus stop. And so, we invite any and all thoughts and ideas. I can't wait for the next phase in this process, but I just wanted to share some of the things that we're doing. And Dr. Lawrence touched on the after-school program as well.
And so immediately after that incident occurred, we had a meeting at Belmont and with the library safety team and our safety team to say, hey, the timeout, we get it, and we're going to put a safety plan together. So we're going to extend our hours that were there, rapidly try to get kids immediately on buses, because you are correct about the bus situation. If you get on the bus, then you're not in the library, and the people want to be in the library. That's the thing. And I also want to say that, again, this is complex, and I'm not making any excuses for Dayton Public Schools or for the community. We have a violence issue in this community writ large, and there are over somewhere in the neighborhood of 450 million weapons in this country. This is one of the most violent places on earth, and we are simply a derivative of that here.
Roger Thomas, I'm the director of Dream Builders Program. We're at Central State West Monday through Thursday, 4 to 8 o'clock, and we welcome all comers for school, other programs to come. We have a lot of outlets for youth. I'm involved with multiple schools, multiple rec centers. I'm a part of Athletes in Action. I'm a deacon in training, proud of my church, Hartman Ministry. We have tons of outlets. We're here to help. Me and our president, Matt Miller, will be right here for if anybody wants any information. Afterwards, we're here to assist any and everyone here today. We're on Dream Builders. We're on Facebook. Our email is dreambuildersset@gmail.com. We're here already volunteered to help, where's she at? I just saw her up at the top. Starting on Wednesdays to get on the weekly planner here. We're here to help and assist any way possible with all youth. We have tons of outlets, and we are proven. We are proven, and God we trust. Thank you.
Can I get that card and pamphlet out of here?
Yeah.
Thank you. And it sounds like you connected with Christians, so.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a
Yes,
great
ma'am.
thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Reverend Daria Diller-Stone, and the fact that you all are here talking about a complex problem is indicative that miracles are getting ready to happen. Just like Superintendent Lord said that part of the problem of busing is us having to bus charter schools. Nobody wanted to hear that. That's truth. That's reality. The other reality, y'all, is that when we took prayer out of school, a lot of other stuff came in. Don't nobody want to talk about that. But what I'm seeing today is community, businesses, you're ready to roll up your sleeve. Now, I'm tired of this because there are babies. And I know for a fact that every one of us here at Dayton Metro Library are doing the best that we can do. We need the community's help. We need people that are sitting at home going, oh, this is terrible. Look at what's on the news and doing nothing. When you're doing nothing, you're part of the problem. We need people to be part of the solution. So I'll be praying. That's one thing I'm going to do. I expect a change. I expect us to talk more and then to not just talk, but walk what we talk. That is what I got to say.
Ms. Diller-Stone, it's good to see you. Thank you for your comments. I just want to say that I'm glad you came up because that triggered another thought. Just about 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting with a luncheon with about 30 clergy, and their question was, how can we help? I say that to say that there are people around this space that want to help. We just need to get people aligned and on the same page, thinking the same thing and moving in the same direction and rowing in the same direction. So the assets are here, the people are here, the purpose is here. We just need to get aligned.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, you got that right. We got everything we need. We just gotta organize it and like Ms. Darius said, we gotta put it in motion. So my name is Chris Lockett. Some of y'all may know me by C-Lock, restaurant owner in Dayton. Grew up on the west side of Dayton. I was one of those problem childs. And here I am today, a multiple business owner. So I also run a community-based program in Dayton, Official Network and Chill. We have a summer program, Official Network and Children, where we help with the K through 8 kids. Right. We help them develop their dreams, okay? So I really want to know who has the final call on what decisions will be made when it comes to the public spaces in Dayton. I want to know also, how are you all going about promoting and marketing the programs that we're talking about? Because we got so many social media outlets. We got so many different outlets that you can promote and market, and I don't see a lot of promoting going on about these programs that we're talking about.
Thank
and
you.
we may have to widen the budget
Your time
to
is
involve
up,
the
sir. Thank
community
you.
with helping you all get the job done that we're trying to get done.
Thank you.
So your two concerns, sir, are who has the final say in whatever solutions get decided, and then what about promotion and marketing? There's so many programs and social media outlets, and so concerned about who's promoting these efforts.
Yeah, that's two. And I just want to know are we talking about why expanding the budget to the community instead of putting money into things that we may not need so much around here?
So there's also a concern about the budget and expanding it to the community, the wider community.
So in terms of the final say, I would say it's the community. You know, what we determine to do as a community, as a team, how we pool our resources together is like critically important. And so I think, you know, developing an action plan, not a strategic plan that just sits on the shelf, but a plan of action to address our needs and our concerns is absolutely critical. It's actually taking place at a micro level at Fairview, EJ, and Thurgood with Omega. I see Pastor here, Pastor Ward, and so that's my 2 cents on the matter.
I would say well said, because I think that's exactly what we're gonna need to do. We're gonna need to come together as a community and decide, how are we gonna solve this larger problem? Again, public spaces have different purposes. The school has a different purpose than the library does, but I think that's part of where we work together to figure out how do we use those spaces to best serve our community.
Common interests, yes. Determine what those are.
And then to the second part, I don't know if Debbie wants to pitch in on this piece too, because she happens to be our marketing director, but that's not her formal title. I said it wrong, but that's okay. But we do a lot to market the programs that we have, and I know that Dayton Public Schools have been a big partner with us in that as well. There's been many times that we've sent things to Mr. Smith for him to publicize the school, and he does that for us. We use social media. We use pretty much any tool that we can. Our website. Sometimes we even go a little bit bigger, but those things, again, those are expensive and they cost us a lot. So we have to be very thoughtful on how we promote things.
Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. We also use the platforms of like Dayton Today or Dayton This Morning, where we have staff go on to the TV programs, the morning programs, to talk about our programming. So in all the ways that Rachel enumerated, we also rely on our partners to spread the word about what we do. We have thousands and thousands of programs throughout the year, and so sometimes there's even competition between marketing those programs, but we use every outlet possible to get the word out. And of course, someone will not know, but know that we are doing all that is within our wheelhouse and our resources to market and promote what we have going on.
My name is Rosemary Brain, and I actually have 2 children who work for the library system. One is working at the Northwest branch and one here at the main library. And their concerns are for their personal safety and also just to have some type of action or service available when there is a student with a disciplinary problem and you trespass them for 7 days or 30 days. At the end of that time, they come back into the library and probably have the same problem. Is there any way that once a student is just habitually trespassed out of the library for behavior problems, that they would get some kind of counseling? Because it's the repetitive offender that makes the library less attractive to older people, older seniors, because of the language that you hear. Just recently, my son
Thank you, ma'am.
had threats. My daughter has had threats and had to have a police report. So it's a community problem.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Brim, your concerns are for your children who are employees here and their safety and the safety of library staff. And your other concern that you spoke to was for youth that are habitually trespassed or have disciplinary issues. They come back into some kind of help for them because they come back into the library.
So I'll speak to that one just a little bit. Yes, again, you're right, those things do happen. We do have different processes. If someone just breaks our rules, the library rules, then we call that process banning. There's nothing legal or anything about that piece. And that can be up to 30 days, and typically that's a coaching with the individual who does it. We let them know what they did wrong, please don't do it again. Sometimes they get a couple of warnings before we ask them to leave for either the day, or if, again, it's more egregious, longer than that. If it's a criminal act, sometimes things happen, right? Then that's when we go to the word you use, trespass. And that we work very closely with the Dayton Police Department on that piece. And that, you know, again, our Safety and Protective Services Department takes care of that pretty quickly. We can't necessarily know if people are going to come back. That does happen, but we do deal with it when they do. And again, I think our Safety and Protective Services Department does a pretty good job of getting people back out if they come back during that time. And then the second part of your question I was going to answer too, and I forgot what it was already. What was it? Oh yes, thank you. That was it. So we actually have a partnership with Goodwill, in which the Goodwill Easter Seals, in which we have some peer counselors here, some peer supporters here. So that is an option, and it's not just teens. We refer a lot of our patrons who are struggling with things that either we as librarians are not trained to help them with, or you know, are sort of outside of the scope of what you might typically think of. We refer them, and they do a fantastic job and really help folks get help. Now, unfortunately, again, there's like one of them here at a time, so that is challenging, but we're moving in that direction.
The library, again, they've been great partners when we're notified, and we are, and when we get video footage and or pictures of students can be suspended for as much as as few as 10 days, and as possibly the remainder of the school year. When students are removed from school, we have life coaches who conduct what we call re-entry circles. I'm glad you said that about when you repeatedly do things, then what? Because it can't just be punishment, punishment, punishment. There has to be some space where you work on the social emotional space around the why, right? And so we have staff members in our secondary schools who do that, and I just asked about that this morning, so we're working on the fidelity and implementation of that. So making sure that when infractions happen outside of school grounds, I think the code is 256, I'm not sure, but 239, but we do 233, but we do 330. Get me together, Dr. Jones. But listen, we have jurisdiction outside of school. How about that? We have jurisdiction outside of school, and that means that when things happen in the community, we can respond.
Yeah, that's good.
Hello, my name is Rachel Ward. I'm Vice President of Omega CDC. I want to thank DPS, Dayton Metro Library, and Dayton Police Department for your partnership and for your continued work. I also want to share that the library has a levy that we need to pass in 2 weeks. We had a community meeting yesterday at Northwest Library with over 70 attendees. At least 20 of them were teenagers. We feel that we're community stewards and that we're providing a safe container, but we know the youth and they are our responsibility collectively. We also have an after-school program at a middle school with capacity to serve 100, 30 enrolled, but only 15 were there yesterday. There's opportunity. We have staff who are at the library multiple days a week working with the library team to provide services. I could text Ms. Sharon at any point and she texts me because our teachers, administrators, librarians, and other public servants cannot do this alone. So I employ other community organizations and members to serve as stewards of the community that we want to see. And the youth must be part of that solution. They fight like young people do. We break it up, but we provide more opportunities to start again. They are children. We all were once children. Okay,
Thank you so much.
I'm giving a whole speech.
And I want to do a quick time check because we promised this was gonna be an hour. We've got about 10 minutes left, and you see we have a long queue, so please stay to your minutes so I don't have to interrupt you. Okay.
But I'll just quickly say thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank y'all.
My name is Angel Murphy. I'm a caseworker here in Montgomery County. I want to say, like, I'm in the schools, I'm in the group homes, I'm in the communities, I'm in the libraries, like, every day of the week. I know we're here for something that has, like, recently happened and is negative, but I don't want to not, like, take away from our children. Like, we do have good kids. We have great kids in the community. So if we have any, like, youth here, you guys are great. So I do want to say that. I did want to make a suggestion. My suggestion is, even though, like, you guys can implement the SROs and the Dayton Police Department, like, we do need to hold our kids accountable. A suggestion I had was to maybe, and it might be a logistical thing,
maybe like when the kids do enter the library, maybe take their like school ID or some kind of ID, and we know, and they'll be more conscious of like, okay, let me not start something in the library, because they know like who I am. So
Thank you. Thank you.
So your main suggestion was perhaps taking the kids' ID when they come into the library so that we can hold them accountable was your main concern. And you had another thing that I forget, so I hope you guys heard that. So good kids, yes, how do I forget that one, right? We have good kids here in the community.
Yes, yes.
And real quick, to that point, and we've worked very closely with Dayton Public Schools, I know the library has as well. The SROs, the school staff have been invaluable in helping identify kids. So in addition to the ID, a lot of times we have school staff who are there.
Yeah, I will actually say, Mr. Smith is with us most afternoons at Southeast. We start the afternoon with him there, so that's been wonderful.
Good evening, everybody. Ken Hayes. Dr. Lawrence, you started off by saying this conversation is overdue. I agree. I appreciate you all having and holding this space for the conversation. Another thing you said was after the incident, a number of stakeholders went to Belmont to initiate the conversation of how to respond to this. To me, one of the things that is most frustrating is this seems to be another example of us being reactive instead of proactive. The one group of stakeholders who I have not heard mentioned once since we started this conversation at the beginning of the hour is the librarians themselves. Southeast is my primary branch. I'm there probably 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm there often during the 2:30 to 5 o'clock hour. And it's clear that this was not an incident that just happened to happen a few weeks ago. This is a regular occurrence for the staff at that library, and it is something that the librarians there have voiced their concern about since Belmont branch opened. And their voice is not heard, I can tell you. It's just not, and not in any meaningful way. So I would encourage everybody to please give the librarians a great voice.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Thank you. Your time is
in
up.
these issues.
Do you want to respond to that at all? Any responses?
We've had multiple meetings with the staff, so I know that we again, we've listened to what they would like to do. We've made a lot of changes at the Southeast branch, things like moving the furniture so we can see better in different areas. Again, we've sent additional staff members there. I've been there many afternoons myself. To support them, and I'll call out Dave Hicks, who's one of our public services directors. He's there many afternoons as well to be there to support them. And this, again, I think we keep trying different things. We've gone to a zero tolerance policy. I think we have really tried to listen to the staff, but as a library, again, we're also trying to be open and there for everyone. So those 3 pieces are where we're trying to get to: safe, open, available to everyone.
Thank you, Rachel.
Sure.
I used to work downtown, and now I work remote, and those kind of tie together because when I worked downtown, I didn't come to the library before the levy passed. One from 15 years ago. The levy passed, and I said, "Hey, look, I'm going to be the library's #1 customer." The old library, the old building, didn't feel very welcoming, and I don't know. I have a question for the panel, which is, if any of you have been here long enough in town, did you have the same problems in the old building, or is there something about being more accessible or more inviting that has caused the problems? And then the last gentleman touched on the incidents, and at working remote and not being able to afford good internet at home, I would come to the downtown branch. That's the one I'm closest to. I'd be here during the day, 8 in the morning until 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And what I saw for the past 2-3 years, once the kids returned to school, was that the teenagers became a problem, and I had to vacate the downtown branch and switch to Northwest, probably because it's not on the bus line.
Do you have a comment? Does anyone on the?
So I'll just kind of quickly answer your question about The volume of teenagers definitely, we have seen an increase. And again, that's not, I don't think we see that as a bad thing because as others have mentioned, most of them are really good kids that are here. They maybe want to socialize with their friends, but they're also using the library in positive ways as well. Those that we've had that aren't, that's, you know, that has been a little bit more challenging. The old building was, you're right, it was not a very nice building by the time we got to tearing it down and building this one. I think it's been the last couple or 3 years that we've seen an influx of folks here that are younger. Belmont, that's the southeast property, the old Belmont Library wasn't very close to the high school, so no, we didn't hardly see very many teens there at all. So again, that was part of the decision to build it where we did.
Thank you. And I do want to make a time check. It is 7 o'clock. We want to get through this queue, so please keep your comments to 1 minute. Thank you for your grace in hearing out. And if people are open to staying a little longer, we would be open to, would you all be open to staying just a little bit longer, 5 minutes longer? Okay.
Hi there, thank you. I'm going to try to be very speedy, so forgive me for how quick this is. I'm Bethany Ramsey, parent of DPS. I want to thank Dr. Lawrence for being here. I see that DPS is shouldering a lot of this, but I wanted to shift to the library. First and foremost, I was wondering if the executive director is here, because I see our leadership at DPS is here, so I know that is the top of the food chain for the library. I'd encourage, maybe in the crowd he is, I'd encourage him to come, be on the panel. I think that's really important. I hear a lot about alignment. I just want to make sure, I think this is an opportunity for some transparency. So just knowing what the strategic plan and making sure that it's coming from the top down. I think this can be an opportunity that maybe in this day and age we need to shift to focusing on our young people. I mean, they spend a lot of time in their online community, so maybe the library has an opportunity here. And so I just hope that we can have more transparency. And I want to ask, of course, when are the library board meetings? Because I know there's possibly some opportunity for people to speak there. And when do those happen? And can that have more visibility on the website so people can know and start engaging in board meetings? Thank you.
Thank you.
So I can tell you the easy one is when are the board meetings? They are the third Wednesday at 4 p.m. So that occasionally changes, sometimes in January if we need a little bit more time for financial reports, but typically they're the third Wednesday. And thank you, yes, we do have a strategic plan. I would love to give you more information about that at some time when we have it, but youth services is one of the big pillars of that plan.
Hello, I'm Tia Wright. I am a youth program manager at the Urban League. I wanted to just say thank you for this conversation. Just as everyone else pointed out, I think it was much needed and long overdue. And maybe this is a conversation that needs to happen on a monthly, quarter cadence so that we're coming together and voicing our opinions and making change from there. I do want to say that I have come to the main library. I have talked with some of the kids down here that frequent the library. I actually met with Allison to bring programming straight to the main library, which we will be implementing next month for a 10-month period for our youth. I think it's important for all of our community partners to come together and work together to solve a bigger problem than working in silos. I think Dayton has a history of working in silos, and I think it would just be best if we expanded that, it put our resources together and helped as many youth as possible, because these are our babies.
That's
My
right.
babies aren't even in high school yet, but I know they're getting there, and I
Thank
want
you.
them to have the best experience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for expanding the conversation. My mother lives in Weston Hills. She's 85 years old. That's where I grew up, and there is violence there, and it's not downtown. We have a situation that's in this city, so we have to expand the conversation. These are derivatives of a much larger issue. And I would love for the next conversation not just to be about the library and Dayton Public Schools and violence intervention with the city and the programming they're doing and all the things we talked about that we're talking about today, but there's a systemic issue, and we've got a community-wide issue, and we're just part of it.
Exactly, absolutely.
Hi, I'm Leslie Thomas. I'm a community outreach coordinator for Dayton Children's. I've heard a lot about people wanting to help. Could you possibly publish on the website who we all contact so that we can have this transparency and have this organization and we're not all trying to do the same thing at once? The last thing I want to say is that the teen librarians at that Southeast Library are phenomenal. I've interviewed them. They have hearts of gold, and they don't see this as a problem. They see it as an opportunity. They don't see it as 296 kids coming in. They see it as 296 opportunities every day.
That's good.
100%. I will clap for our team librarians again. Both at the Southeast branch and here at the main library, they really do a phenomenal job. And again, I think we made this decision to take some time and figure things out. And two of the people who were really not super happy with that decision were the teen librarians, right? They wanted to continue to serve their cohort during the time they normally come. Thank you, Rich.
Hello, my name is Tanae Waits. I am the manager of family resources for Omega CBC. Just have two questions. Is there an advocacy effort around transportation and how can we support it? Transportation for our young people. If you could ask someone or an organization to step up, what would you want to see? What type of support would you want to see?
For us, and Dr. Jones, let's tag team this one. For us, it's legislative. Yeah, this is about, you said advocacy. To me, advocacy translates into policy. And then policy, when policy changes, it changes the structure and the framework in which we do business. And if we can do that, we can be freed of some restrictions that we have to really be able to provide some amazing opportunities and supports. So yeah, for me, I would say legislative.
Yeah, I echo the same. I shared earlier that we need to start to engage our local politicians, our state politicians, legislators, because often the legislation that is created for us harms us. And so we're really in a position now where it's absolutely critical. I mean, it's good to see the number here, but we really have to advocate for us, for Dayton. And I love the young lady that came down to talk about community. Until we start to engage our students in fruitful dialogue about solving some of these problems, we won't get anywhere. We won't get anywhere. And in addition to that, I would encourage everybody in the room, when you see students out, have conversation. I went to Patterson, right around the corner. Yes. Now, I came out in '97, and I would go out on a limb and say that it's not too dissimilar in terms of the perception of the folks that work downtown and come downtown, how they viewed kids like me. I grew up on Home Avenue, west side of Dayton. If you know anything about Home Avenue in the '90s, it was rough.
Wow,
Yes, but I looked, as a black male, I walked downtown and people would clutch their purses, go across the street. What I'm encouraging everybody to lose is that fear factor. If we really intentionally focus on, establishing relationships with the students, with our kids, they're our kids. It's not that lady's kids in DeSoto Bass or that lady's kids on the kid on the east side. Man, these are our kids. And we have to, again, drop the fear factor and really engage these students in dialogue. And so I'm going to encourage, the bringing of students to these platforms.
Thank you. I want to be respectful of time and I want to be respectful of the process. Does anyone else have any direct response to the young lady's request of what would you want to in terms of support, really quickly?
Yeah, I will be super quick. I am amazed at the number of organizations in Dayton that have little pieces of the puzzle. So I'm not sure that there's one group that I want to see. I would love to see some way of us really connecting with each other. I think Preschool Promise has some awesome stuff. They're spending time teaching parents how to do some different parenting things. The Dayton Public Schools are doing awesome things. We've got all these little groups. So that's the piece I see, is that, again, we broaden that conversation. It's not just about high school students, it's about all of our students, it's about all of our community.
I would just, I'd like to say, I noticed the board president is here, William Smith, and I'd like him to come up. I would yield my final comments to him.
You guys hear me? Can you hear me? Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. First, I would say I appreciate everybody being here. The thing that I want to hammer home to everybody is that when we have these issues, we have to understand what got us here. Too many times we lose sight of what got us here, and then we lose sight of where we really are. And too many times when we look at these spaces, we don't want to look at what got us here, because then we get into a position where we feel we have to point fingers and make blame. So I want people to understand that I am a child of Dayton. The library wasn't like this. I went to the library to go to look at encyclopedias. That is what I went to go do, because that was the only place I could go and look at the encyclopedia. This is Baumberger now. This is Princeton. This is Westwood, because we don't have those spaces. And so if we're going to really come up with the solutions, we have to stop looking at it at a solution of why are kids doing this at a library, and say why are kids doing this in a space where people are, because this is where kids go. This is the space. I went to Stivers, I went to Baumberger, I went to Meadowdale, I went to Princeton. You don't have those spaces. We have 3 rec centers. So you don't have those spaces. We do not have some of these teen places for them to go. So we have to understand getting ourselves out of this thinking of they're doing this at the library, instead of why are our children doing this, and what are we as adults doing to help them? What are we doing to teach them how to act and how to react, instead of saying, why are they doing this in this space? Because they're doing it outside of this space. They're doing it everywhere that they go, and let's be honest, they're doing what they see adults also do. And once we get out of that space of saying, why are our children doing this, we can get back into the space of saying, we provide the future that our kids will have, and if we are not doing things, we're about to have an election, and I want us to pass these things, and I want us to get out there and vote, but we also look at the national landscape and see that our kids see adults polarized. Our kids can see attack ads every day. Our kids see adults that do not know how to deal with their problems, and their children trying to figure that out. So I think that space needs to be evolved outside of why are our children acting like this downtown, and saying, what are we doing to do better for our city? Because this is happening everywhere. It's being magnified now because it's happening downtown where people are at. People don't want to see those behaviors, but let's be honest. It happens in Dayton View, it happens in Westwood, it happens in Residence Park, it happens in Belmont. This is where we are. And until we understand that we are here and why we got here, we won't figure out how do we get better than that. So I appreciate that, Dr. Lawrence. Let's make the main thing the main thing. That's what we have to focus on. I love you all for being out here. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to offer Major Hall the opportunity to respond to the question, what type of support would you want? And then we're going to wrap this up. I have a few more comments about what's next.
So for the police department, it's kind of a different question. The support we most need is not so much from a particular agency or organization, it is just the community support. Having us be able to fulfill our role within, get the guidance, get the direction from the community as to where they want their police department to go.
Thank you. And thank you all for your time this afternoon, and especially thank you all for showing up, showing that you care, and providing insight. Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of things, other things that we could be doing. So we're here. And I want to address the person that asked about the annual report, not the annual report, the strategic plan. We have copies of the strategic plan posted in all of our branches, but I have copies of them that I am more than happy to give to you. So see me and I can get you a copy of our strategic plan. And as was mentioned, we understand that simply having this conversation, listening to your thoughts and ideas, and reopening Southeast will not address some of the more nuanced issues affecting our community, especially our young people. The Dayton Metro Library would like to offer support in convening a community work session where community members can brainstorm ideas, forge collaborations, cultivate resources, and develop ways to implement solutions, all things of which I've heard tonight. Please connect with Allison Knight, who is here in the audience. Raise your hand, Allison, the Director of Youth Services and Programming here at Dayton Metro Library for more details and becoming involved. She can be reached at Knight, that's with a K, K-N-I-G-H-T, at DaytonMetroLibrary.org. You can find her on our website as well. She might be able to have cards for you available this evening. And a summary of this evening's conversation will be made available on our website and through our social media platforms within a week. Again, thank you all for coming out and for caring.